But yeah, it's such a technical sport that's what I really liked about it, was always being able to solve that puzzle of, how do I get faster and get stronger and get better technique at the same time?
You can't do any of that anymore, huh?
No, it's done.
You can't. I mean, you can't even like mess
Kinda.
around with it,
Nah.
right?
Nah, the knee's trash.
What's going on with your knee? I know you had many surgeries on it.
Yeah, so through 7 knee surgeries and probably now just biding time till knee replacement.
I thought you were gonna say till death.
Well, that too. It's coming for all of us. That's a fact.
Mm.
But with our income and modern science, I think 200, 210, I think we could live that long easy.
Tape that knee up and get some weird.
Yeah, just wrap it in voodoo floss. Pretend that's a brace.
Get some weird, funky cartilage growing in there or something.
Yeah, I wish, man. I mean, we keep getting better at stem cells and all types of stuff. So, like, fingers crossed. But like, my competition days are long done. That's done. But yeah, I can't even dabble.
You miss any of it?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that it's really hard, that it took me some time to kind of wrap my head around, was after the injuries and after surgery, was, and like, I found my thing, man. I found my thing that I was best in the world at. Like, I found.
You thought you were the best in the world.
That's true. That, like, all my skill set and talents and things that I had learned, like, meshed well enough together that twice, like, I'm confident to say no one on the planet was better at this than I was. And I can't ever do it again. So it's like spending 15 years learning to be really good at guitar, and then now your hands don't work. Like, it's fucking tough. Like, this was my fucking thing.
They're like, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, like, you don't ever get to play guitar again. I'm like, what do you fucking mean?
Yeah.
Like, I like throwing. Even if I wasn't competing, I would still probably throw some in my training because I like it. I was good enough at it that, like, I don't have to focus that much on it. Like, it could kind of become like a meditation, that I could just go throw and go through motions and feel it and these other type of things. And so I can't do any of that anymore.
It's very sad. You're like, wait, what do you mean? Like, I was going to get a surgery and then I was going to.
That was the plan.
I was going to come back and then I got another surgery and I was still going to come back and.
Yeah. As soon as.
Passed you by and you're like, fuck.
As soon as I realized I was in chronic pain and, like, I couldn't go up and down stairs, priorities shifted completely.
Mm.
If it was time for me to retire, I think that this went maybe the best way it could have. Because I don't think I would have walked away until something happened that was like,
yeah,
you're done doing this. Instead of, I would have just gotten more and more frustrated and throwing worse and been really bummed out, and then not put the effort that I have in the last year and a half into my business, not put the effort into growing the brand or relationships or any of these other type of things. I still would have been doing that.
You think that's why the super training push-pull meet ended up, like, meaning so much to you, even though it was, like, kind of just a recreational, like,
for sure.
display of strength for a lot of the lifters that competed?
Yeah, man, it was really big. It was really big for me, and it was just good to know that, like, I had that gear, that being able to flip that switch to be able to compete and make it happen when it fucking counts. Like, that's what I miss.
Andrew gave you a red light on that deadlift.
Makes sense.
I don't know why.
You said you were going to bring that up.
He's a hater.
Well, it wasn't great.
Well.
I did get it, though.
It was amazing. The crowd, it seemed like there was like 10,000 people there. They went absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, and then Brian
awesome.
Shaw came out and pulled 50% more than me.
Yeah, why is Brian Shaw so strong?
He's very big.
He's a fucking monster.
It's got to be weird operating in life at that size.
Yeah, it can't be comfortable.
No.
You know, it seems like a good idea to get big, and then you get on a plane, you sit next to somebody else, and you're like, this was a horrible idea.
This dude's a real bummer. You are pouring into my seat there, Tubbo. I need you to maybe go for a jog here in a minute.
What has it also been like to be around other great athletes and to kind of know, I guess, in some way, like, know your role? You know, you were a great athlete yourself, but then there's certain things that you can't compete on. There's certain things you see in other people, and you're like, well, I'm just not that guy. I don't know what the fuck to say about that.
You know, I think it's cool that I get to meet some different people that do things really well, and you get to kind of look at it as, like, they're mastering their skill set. Like they're mastering the talents that they've got, like what their body wants to do really well. And it's cool to see people that are just purely passionate about the thing that they love. Right. And that's what's kind of cool about meeting these people and like at least having that background as an athlete for me is this it opens the door enough for people to realize like I gave enough of a shit about a thing for long enough to be good at it. It's something we talked about earlier is that like strength and sport or any of that, like you didn't get it handed to you because your parents were strong. Like you didn't get it because some weird entitlement. It wasn't where you were born or you had these other options of things. Like you fucking went in and put the barbell in your hands and you did the work. And we'll always share that. Whether that's me or you or your Jay Cutlers or any of these other guys, like you all still did the grind. Like it didn't just happen.
And it takes a certain amount of years. There's no other there's no way around it.
No.
I mean, if in somebody that's really gifted, it might take 5 years, right? Like that's like the bare minimum.
But that's not even like I still think it takes 10 to
Yeah.
reach your max,
Right.
like your real potential.
That's true.
And then it's going to be a fight to get there because there's going to be a point where you realize that you're just trying to ride this line of hurt and healthy.
Right.
And the longer you can stay on just below or right at that line, the most progress you make without having setbacks. But because we're stupid or because that line isn't just a place that you can see. It's dynamic, whether how tired are you? Did you make a mistake technically or do any of these things? And so, whoops, that cost you 2 weeks. Now you're hurt or you're really hurt, And so the people that have put in that time and put 10 years had to go through those plateaus and had to figure out like, oh shit, like I need to make an adjustment to my diet to try to get the most out of this. Or what am I doing supplementation wise that can really give me that extra 1% to be better? Or am I doing enough recovery wise to allow me to train harder when I have time to train? So it does become the whole picture.
Yeah, I remember being at the On Academy and seeing there was a kid down there. I can't remember his name, but he was a really, really strong squatter, really strong power lifter. He's one of these kids that had one of these viral videos of him squatting 900 pounds or 1,000 pounds in like high school. Like he's ridiculously strong. He squatted, I want to say like maybe 780 or something like that for 4 or 5 reps when I was down there.
Oof.
And I was like, wow. I was like, fuck, like how old is this kid? He was like 17 or 18. I was like, just sitting there scratching my head. I'm like, that fucks up my decade.
Different starting point,
Yeah,
man.
it fucks up my decade thing though. And then I go over to his dad and I'm like, man, your son is a monster. He goes, well, he should be. He started when he was 5.
Holy
And I was
shit.
like, oh, there we go.
There we go.
He's still within the decade
Yeah.
rule. Okay, good.
And I think stuff like that gets dangerous to me, man, because like you're not at as like a male or human, like your max strength potential isn't 17.
Right.
It's closer to 30. And most people don't have 20 years that they can give a fuck about a thing at that level. You got 10. And so
Right.
like if you start your kid out and be really hardcore about baseball when he's 6, by the time he gets out of high school, he may be burnt.
Yeah, he might hate it.
He may hate it. That it's now become a job and he's so bored by it that he'll never actually see what he could have done. Or gets hurt early because you're pushing too hard at an age when your body can't do those things. Like that age of a kid, like why are we maxing out kids in high school?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
what are we fucking doing?
Yeah, you get carried away.
You get carried away. And that's the difference between good coaches and coaches that are trying to stroke their own ego by saying we've got 5 guys on the team that all squat 500. Meanwhile, all the squats look like shit and their kids are hurt. Win football games instead, and tell me you got a bunch of kids that squat 315 for 10.
What's your goal now with fitness and strength?
Whew. Be less gross. That's number 1. Number 2 would be like feel better. Like I just now with training, it's kind of a much different approach that like if I'm going to lift 5 days this week, I'm going to have 3 sessions that are going to be pretty hard and I'm going to be sore from. And then I want 2 sessions that are going to be effort, but I feel better when I leave the gym. Like I'm more now concerned with longevity and how my body's going to operate for the next 30 years so that I can do the things that I really want to do with travel and adventure shit and just I don't know where the compass is going to point in 10 years, but I know that I have to pay attention now so that I have the options to follow wherever that compass does go. There's never a point where I'm going to be like too fit. Like I'm not trying to get unmobile as a bodybuilder. I'm not trying to do those things anymore. Like it's more general GPP now. And so there's never a point where I'll be in too good a shape to go do a thing. I could be out of shape and not
that makes
able.
a lot of sense.
And so it's such a different change, right? Because I think Kelly said this to me the last time I was up with him. It's like, look, man, when my time's over and they cut me in half and we count the rings, there's a decade of fire damage in that forest. And like the rings will grow back around it, but they're not the same as they were before. And I've got 15 years of fire damage. So do you.
Well, yeah.
And so
I'm grizzled.
yeah, but I can't keep burning.
Right.
That window's done.
Yeah, you got to have some sort of change.
Yeah, that window's done. And so maybe now the burn needs to go toward business.
How do you continue to push?
You push different ways and have different goals. Like I don't need to be 290 pounds anymore. That was there for a reason.
That's so sad.
I know, dude. It was so good.
It was
You
great.
could just eat whatever
all
you
the
want.
peanut butter
Dude,
cups.
the best. Just being so
The
fat.
Oreos.
All the Oreos.
Tell them what I told you about Oreos earlier about my dad.
Your dad wrote a letter to to Nabisco and basically was like, I want you to know that double stuffed Oreos are not actually double stuffed. I've
He
weighed
did.
this.
It's a true story.